Hello, East Africa, and welcome to Bottomline East Africa. This Wednesday evening, we're glad you could join us. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. We want to begin our show tonight with news reaching us not too long ago from the International Criminal Court at The Hague, where the ICC has confirmed 70 charges against Dominic Ongwen, a senior commander of the Lord's Resistance Army LRA rebel group based in Uganda. The charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity include murder, rape, keeping sex slaves and recruiting child soldiers. Ongwen will be the first LRA member to face trial at the ICC. Nicknamed the White Ant, he was himself a child soldier before he became one of the LRA's most senior commanders. The LRA started out as a Ugandan rebel group, but now mainly operates in neighboring countries including South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Central African Republic. LRA became notorious for abducting children and cutting off the lips, noses and ears of its victims. Ongwen allegedly executed the LRA's military offensives in 2002 and 2003 in several districts in northern Uganda, the DRC, CAR and South Sudan. Ongwen remained on the run before being captured on the 5th of January last year by the Seleka rebels in the Central African Republic, who then handed him over to the US forces, who transferred him to the ICC. Let's come back here home to Kenya, where the opposition coalition Accord has accused the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of being swayed by the ruling Jubilee coalition to frustrate the Okoa Kenya referendum push. The opposition coalition claims the rejection of the signatures is part of the IEBC's rehearsal to manipulate the 2017 polls in their favor. But as Maureen Mwangi now reports, CORD has pledged to spearhead a grassroots movement to push for the total disbandment of the IEBC.
As they had hinted after hearing the Electoral Commission's verdict that declared they had missed the 1 million verified signatures limit, the CORD brigade came out fuming.
We cannot, now it is clear to all and sundry, that we cannot go to the next year's election with this IEBC. So it is in their own best interest to pack up and go.
We are going to run our agenda with no limit as to our options: judicial, extrajudicial, legal, extra-legal, to make sure that we take our country back to where it belongs.
The opposition coalition now claims the electoral body deliberately undertook a shoddy job, allegedly working in cahoots with the ruling coalition to frustrate the referendum push.
The IEBC to this end is being used to disenfranchise you, the people of Kenya, to determine your destiny, just as it was used to make your vote not count in 2013.
Always, whenever we undertake anything, we have had those calls. And it is unfortunate that we are just exercising our mandate under the Constitution, and we are being accused of leaning towards particular political divide.
The People's Initiative is here to stay. The Popular Initiative is here to stay. And nobody can stop it. But for a start, IEBC have now proved, as we have said, beyond reasonable doubt, that they are part and parcel of Jubilee.
The IEBC has denied being the government's spanner boy and is now asking the CORD brigade to pursue legal action over their grievances instead of engaging in what the IEBC calls a mud smearing campaign to discredit the electoral body ahead of the 2017 polls.
We are going to meet to agree to have IEBC out, because this body is rotten. It can't help the people of Kenya. The faith that we have in this country and the reforms and the institutions have been dashed by this very body.
We as commissioners are tired of being threatened every day. We can go home and other commissioners can come in, other Kenyans can come in. So tuko tayari kwenda nyumbani kama ni kwenda nyumbani.
By the way, one of the things we were considering as an option is to go for verification, all of us, with the IBC. But that's an option, to go and visit them, and they can flee again like they did, and communicate through email.
But with barely 17 months to the August 2017 general election, the court team is now planning major grassroots protests to push for the total overhaul of the IEBC, which they now claim is rehearsing to rig next year's polls.
Hakuna kubembelezana na IEBC kutoka leo. Ni kwamba tutapambana na hao IEBC kuona kwamba sisi kama ODM tumesikizwa, sauti yetu imesikizwa, na mwenyekiti wa IEBC ajua kwamba hatacheza na ODM, sisi ndo tutacheza na yeye.
Well, there are a lot of people who have called for us to be disbanded. All I can assure you, as far as I am concerned, the Waswahili wanasema riziki iko na Mungu. I'm ready to go home today if Parliament feels that I'm not doing a good job.
As the great reggae artist Bob Marley once sang, you can fool the people sometime, but you cannot fool the people all the time.
And so it's back to square one for the opposition coalition, only that this time the court brigade is not taking the rejection of the signatures lying down and have now vowed to go to the Kenyans at the grassroots, whom they say are the losers in this latest roadblock to the Okoa Kenya referendum push. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News in Nairobi.
All right, so let's talk to Martin Olo, who is our political analyst here on KTN News, and he joins us live from Kakamega in the western part of Kenya. Martin, good evening and thanks for joining us. So let's talk about these parallels that CORD is drawing between the statements that were made by the Jubilee coalition just days before and the Electoral Commission statements seemingly similar.
Thank you very much, Yvonne, and well, I hope I can be heard all the way from Kakamega. But basically, what I want to say is that it is absolutely unfortunate that IEBC has actually landed us where we are. If they were looking for any way of building up their own credibility, they've just lost it. They've lost it because what stopped them from invoking the provisions of Article 10 of the Constitution to ensure that issues of public participation, ensure that as they were verifying, they worked along with the promoters of the Okoa referendum to the extent that once they have gotten the result, then there is no problem in ensuring that the promoters of Okoa do not dispute it. So when I'm saying that they have shot themselves in the foot, they have just done it. Look at the statements they are making. Oh, we are ready to pack up and go home. Are they spoiling for a war? Do they want to make it impossible for them to have a peaceful election? I think that's not the statement that Kenyans want to hear. Kenyans want to hear that they were diligent and that what they have done is unimpeachable. Unfortunately, there seems to be parallels between what they are saying and what others have said. So that comparison is absolutely founded.
All right, Martin, they've also taken issue with how they did the verification process. Do you agree that it wasn't done in the right way? And there's been talk about CORD doing an independent verification of, by themselves of these signatures?
I agree that they have failed, and they have failed, not Okoa, they have failed Kenyans, because this is a constitutional issue. And Article 47 of the Constitution, in terms of fair administrative action, applies that they owe the promoters of Okoa expeditious, lawful, and procedurally fair process. Now, why did it have to take Okoa promoters to walk to their offices to threaten before they released this, what would appear to be a doctored outcome? Certainly, IEBC cannot hide behind their exercising of their constitutional mandate by simply failing to deliver on what would be a fair process in terms of Article 47 of the Constitution, in what would be a fair process in terms of Article 10 of the Constitution. In this day and age, you cannot go hide yourself in a boardroom, do an exercise, and purport to represent everybody by coming up and saying, we are exercising our mandate, we have come up with a conclusion that the signatures fall short. What stopped them from giving the Okoa people a notice and telling them, look, we are about to issue an adverse statement from what we've seen. Please come understand with us what the issues are, to the extent that when we go public, please understand where we're coming from. That is what Article 47 would require. Now, I want to tell my good friends in IBC that they are failing this country, and indeed, they are supposed to be responsible enough to exercise the spirit of the Constitution. And when they have not done it, they should be the first ones to own up, not to hide behind the Constitution.
Okay, Martin, if CORD, allow us to speculate for just a moment. If CORD were to choose the route of independently verifying the signatures that they presented, the over 1.6 million signatures they presented to the IEBC for this process, would that be valid? Because we know, according to the law, that it is the electoral body that is supposed to verify the signatures. So let's say CORD chooses to do this independent verification. Will it hold any water at all with the IEBC? They could just decide to reject that and say, we don't know what method you used and which body you used to verify your signatures.
Their options are not to go the independent route. I mean, they'll just find themselves in a quagmire. But they have legal options. They can go for a judicial review in the courts, the judiciary. And because this is an administrative action, the verification is not an insulated process from what would amount to an administrative action. So the judicial review process is actually available to them. So I'll tell them, instead of taking things to to a illegal position, let them go the court route. That's an option they have. They should go and seek a judicial review, and actually the judicial, the courts will then take over the exercise and actually independently verify this. So they are better off with the judicial process than trying to act on their own.
Right. You mentioned that, and they made that statement when Senator Moses Wetangula was giving that statement a little earlier, and talked about legal and extra-legal options that they would be considering. Would they be essentially shooting themselves in the foot by insinuating that they may use extra-legal means towards resolving this stalemate regarding the referendum?
Let me try and understand what they're saying. Legal, obviously, that's a good option they have, because what has happened can be challenged legally, and that's an option. I want to believe that what they're saying is that they want to go to the people. I don't want to believe that when they talk about extrajudicial, they're talking about anything else. Going to the people, of course, is still legal. It's still within their constitutional mandate and constitutional right. They can do that. Obviously, if IBC have done something wrong, then the Okoa promoters cannot be right by trying to adopt extra legal mechanisms. Let's say we want to stay by the law. Let's say we want to stay by the Constitution. They have an option to go to the judiciary. IBC cannot claim they're exercising their right without a reference or without any adherence to the principles of the Constitution. And for that reason, both IBC and Okoa promoters ought to know that they are subject to the Constitution and they are subject to legal mechanisms to addressing this, nothing short of it.
Okay, and Martin, this is not the first or only push by Popular Initiative to amend the Constitution. There's the Punda Mechoka, Pungua Mzigo. There's the other one for Pesa Mashinani, which is being fronted by Governor Isaac Ruto. What does this mean for those other, initiatives to amend Kenya's Constitution? Does it mean anything? Because as we know, Moses Kuria has started the process of gathering signatures for the Punda Mechoka initiative.
Let's admit, Yvonne, that our Constitution anticipates or contemplates a way in which it can be amended. And that is okay. That's perfect. Nothing wrong with it, because there is a provision as how it should be amended. The other thing is that there is a way in which it can be amended through the referendum. There's a way in which it says how a popular initiative can be initiated, and there's a way in which it says a process that involves the county assemblies and the National Assembly ought to be implemented. Those are available mechanisms. So Punda Mechoka or any other initiative is absolutely valid, it's absolutely constitutional, it's in order. What we want from IEBC is to play fair, to play judiciously, to act within the Constitution, and to stay within the fidelity and the confines of the Constitution. They have no option. They cannot exercise this in such a cavalier